Well, hello, everybody. It's Dr. Hank, and welcome to Agent Wealth Network. And you know what we do here? We help agents, real estate agents, and brokers to not only increase their business, but also increase their wealth. And you know also that I have the top people, the top trainers, the top coaches, the top agents, brokers. Last week we had a $1 billion agent on, it was just incredible. But this week, I think you're going to really enjoy our special guest for this week because Roberta Ross is just incredible. In fact, when she was 19, she started her own little business in her dorm, and she became a number one sales person. And she's done over 300 residential real estate investments. But what you're going to probably love most is on the business side, because personally she's just remarkable as well. But on the business side, is she has a company, and it basically is a six-figure real estate coach, and so that's what she is. She helps us to have six figures, and so let us welcome Roberta Ross. Roberta, hello, and welcome to the show.
Hello, Hank. It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're gonna have a rocking time. I can just tell you
Oh,
just
yeah.
are sunshine and with that beautiful smile of yours, and
Thank you.
it's just gonna get better and better this show with you because like we're just gonna start out with you help people to make more money, experience more joy, and succeed with ease. And I just love that. And could you share with us a little about how can we make more money, experience more joy, and just a comment about joy? That's really the prize. We're all here to have more joy, to feel better, and so all the stuff we want, if you will, it's just there to help us feel better. And so this joy is the prize. So how can we experience that more joy, succeed with ease? And then also have more money because all money is more freedom for us. So can you share some of your secrets with us?
Absolutely. Well, it's funny that I love that you say that joy is the prize because I always say we are here to be happy. And believe it or not, there are people who will argue against that, which, I can't think of a more incredible way to argue for your misery than to say no. That is not why we're here.
That's
But
great. Yeah, I love that people fight for their lack and limitation. And there's a perfect example on how they do it. And they say, no, I'm right, because look at this reality. And reality is just our previous thought that, has manifested into our experience. So, yeah, perfect example.
yeah, so this is my mission now.
Oh,
Because to help people make more money, experience more joy, and succeed with ease, because if you don't have all three of those things, can you really call it success? And there are
yeah,
plenty of people in society that will say, oh, well, if you're making money, you're successful. Or if you hit this number of transactions or this sales volume, or you're the number one or the number two or whatever, you're successful. But you probably know, and we both know, so many people who, in order to get there, maybe has trashed something like their health or their marriage
yeah,
or their relationships or their integrity or whatever, right? So
right. Mhm.
is that really success?
Yeah.
So just a little history on how that came about, because that's been my mission over the past couple of years.
Oh,
Prior to that, though, I assumed everybody wanted to make more money, which they do, and I think is terrific. So I
yeah,
absolutely help people to do that.
good.
But it's just such a limited view.
Mhm.
I was traveling around speaking and coaching and selling and all this kind of stuff, and I was just this pick yourself up by the bootstraps person. I had the mindset that freedom, being able to do whatever you want when you want to do it, that type of thing,
Yeah.
it was afforded by our financial success. Like you have that, you make the money first, and then that affords you the
Mhm.
opportunity for that freedom. And so I
Right.
worked really hard. Well, one day I woke up and I couldn't get out of bed.
Oh,
And it turns out I had a serious case of adrenal fatigue. I was laying there, I mean, literally for months, going from being so busy
oh my.
to doing nothing. And I remember thinking, is this how my children are going to remember their mother as somebody who just lays
Wow.
here in bed all the time and their father brings her meals. That's what my existence felt like.
Wow. And how long ago was this?
This was in 2011.
Okay.
So,
Seven.
well, it turns out it was a gift. It was a gift because it led me on this transformational journey to discovering what it truly means to be successful and recognizing that a lot of the stuff we've been taught about success is completely misguided and blatantly not true.
Yeah.
And I've learned ways to make more money and have more fun and do it all with so much greater ease. Like this whole business thing, real estate and life is so much easier than most of us make it. So that has
Yeah.
been my focus.
And I just love that. And I tell people what I do is I help people have more money and have more fun. And so we put basically together you and I, and that's why we just click. And it's so fun to just attract similar minded people into our lives like we are and like all our listeners are with us. And that, really resonate with this that what we do is we put more fun and more money into real estate. And so this idea about you recognized it was a blessing when you were laid up in bed, your husband had to take you food, and you're thinking, I'm a miserable mom or whatever, right? For sure not an example, for my children. And there's so many people that trade in any industry that trade their time for money. And what happens is that because of that time, and you don't really take care of yourself and then your relationships and your life, that what happens is you can have that money, but you have no time, and then you realize that money isn't going to bring me the happiness that I thought.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you asked, how do you do that? Well, a big part of it is deciding, are you going to be an outer world person or an inner world person?
Wow.
Are you going to be a competitor or are you going to be a creator? And
Oh.
we are taught to compete, compete, compete. And the very nature of competition is always looked at in relationship to what other people are doing. And so now, don't get me wrong. I think competition can be very healthy and actually raise the playing field and have people to be more exceptional at what they are. There's a good side of that, but that's not the kind I mean. What I
Yeah.
mean is that we tend to look away from ourselves and look outside for this validation of success. And the industry supports it. Like in real estate, what do they reward? They reward the person with the most volume or the
Right.
most transactions.
Right.
And instead of really looking at, well, even just looking at their profitability, I know people who are doing huge volumes of sales and transactions that don't have two nickels to rub together, right? And is that
Right.
success? I think that they should award, and you would like this too. I think you'll have my back on this. The most profitable and the happiest agent.
Yeah.
How about that? Or
Yeah.
the most profitable agent who also still has the respect of their family and friends.
Yeah, and I love that for sure. And there's so many other things that, as you bring this up, that comes to mind, like the kindest person. Like really
Yes.
all of us, that if you want to like have other people be kind to you, just be kind to them. I mean, it's real easy the way this plays. I don't use the word work because it's low vibration, so I use the word play. And
I like that.
that yeah, that the way that this world, this life, this universe plays is, for us to whatever we're giving, we're going to get back. And then the other thing about money is really just money is freedom, and we have so many things wrapped up in money that we actually are thinking more about the lack of money than the abundance of money. And so your approach is just, refreshing. And it's to say, hey, and not so much, it's kind of like, let's not worry about what society is thinking or what the company is thinking. Just you be concerned about what you're thinking about who you are, what type of my relationship, because that's the greatest reward. You don't need any
Yes.
trophy.
Yes. So what happens in competition is we're always focused on the winning. And we don't even know if it's what the prize is what we want. Is it the winning?
Right.
Whereas a creator is going from within and saying, where am I drawn? What are my talents and strengths and passions? Where's my bliss taking me? What's my inner guide saying? And it focuses on the wanting, the wanting. So when we focus on the winning, it gets us separated from ourselves. So we're chasing something we don't even realize. Like, for example, if somebody comes to me and they say, Roberta, I want you to coach me. I want you to help me be the number one agent in my office or my market or in the nation or whatever.
Yeah.
I say we have absolutely no use for each other because what you're chasing is like completely the antithesis of what it is that I believe is true success and what we do, because it has nothing to do with where you're drawn. Like, for example, if you work in an office or if you work in a market or a state or country, whatever, and you say you do in your office, say you do 25 transactions, and you're just so happy and you're working with the people you want to work with and you feel like you're really aligned, that you're coming from within, that you're not paying so much attention to what everybody else is doing except for to learn, right?
Yeah.
But you're saying, what do I want? And somebody else in your office has 28 transactions, that you're like, and who cares, right?
But we bum ourselves, and we bum ourselves out so much by saying, "Oh man, I'm not good enough," better than Charlie because Charlie has 3 more. And who cares about Charlie? And
I think that the new model for the agents and brokers listening, when you're seeking a mentor or a coach or someone, is to look at this closely, because they are a guide to you. And they're going to be helping you focus on what's most important. And if it's all about the money, then, that can take you down a crazy path of just being so disconnected from yourself. So I think that this is really the new model.
Yeah, and I love that, and it reminds me of the thoughts that came into my mind there as you're talking. It's just so divine thoughts that you're sharing, and that it sparked to me. It's like the 12 disciples that you really want people that are around you that is something that you want, but you have to have that clarity of what you want. It's just not being number one. At the same time, and all my viewers know on the Hankers loves to just really get into it, and I know you've coached literally over 1,000 people, and can you give us some examples so that we understand that what you're saying can get us the money and can help us be the best, but do it in a happy way? Can you give us some examples of people that you have helped and maybe specifically helped and maybe their accomplishments we understand that they're going to be happier because that and more fun and more of the people that they're attracting that they like. But on those, on the money and on the business, we have many people that think that is the goal. But if you, like you say, go inward first, what are some of those examples of the outward success that you've helped agents and brokers achieve?
Yeah, great question. So I'll give you an example or two if you want. And then also I can share a little mini formula I came up with that, everyone can use just to sort of get them on the path of getting aligned. Right. So an example, this is somebody, a real estate agent that I have been working with for a few years. Yeah. When we started working together, she was like so many agents. She was all over the place. She was in the game and she was willing to invest in her business. So she was sending emails like to this one list and maybe some postcards to this other list. And then there's another neighborhood that she was giving out flags on 4th of July. So she was sort of in the game, but she was all over. She didn't have any clarity. Yeah. And she was in 5 markets. Wow. But in a patchy way. And so her results were really patchy. And she was getting guidance from her manager to go into a high dollar market in her community, that sort of more upscale luxury brand. Yeah. And so she was about to launch into that. So when we sit down, when I work with somebody, I branded a power start session where I look at where you are and where you want to go, and we come up with a plan to get there. Mm-hmm. And so I was looking at all her stuff, and it was just sort of all over the place. And we talk, like really discovering what makes you tick. What is making your lights turn on and what's making them turn off too, because that's different for everyone. Sure. Well, it turns out when I asked her about this market that she was going to move into, she said, I really don't relate to those people. I've done a couple of transactions there, so I'm kind of hesitating.
Mm.
So here's the thing that it's so important for everybody to understand is that just because something is logical doesn't mean that it's going to work for you or it's your best choice, because the truth trumps logic. The,
Woo!
the truth about who you are and what you truly want is way more important than just logic, because otherwise, Hank and I could just create a plan and say, okay, go here, implement it, as if it's just a mechanical thing. It doesn't have anything to do with you, but it has
Right.
a lot to do with you. And
Hmm.
so when I asked her what she really wanted, she said, well, I grew up in a blue collar neighborhood, and the neighborhood that I enjoy the most doing business in is this $220,000 neighborhood, as opposed to the $600,000 or $700,000 neighborhood she was moving into. And so what we did, without spending any more money, spending any time, and I always ask people what resonates with them. She didn't want to do any open houses. She didn't want to make prospecting calls. So
Yeah.
without doing that and without spending more money, without spending any more time, we just took all of her time and attention and resources and we channeled it to the market that she wanted. And
Wow.
she had never made more than about $80,000 a year when we met.
Hmm.
Well, after 1 year of doing that, she earned 141,000, and then last year over 330,000. And here's
Wow.
the thing. So she's making way more money than she ever expected to, but she feels like she's in the zone because
Yeah.
her efforts, everything's concentrated in this geographic area. She's working with the people that she relates to and they relate to her. And she feels this sense of freedom, right? And so business flows so much easier because she has communicated who she is and who she wants. And they've heard her, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. It's really, there's a lot of cool stories around that. She's actually
Roberta,
taking time off too that she didn't before. So
right, right. And Roberta, that is just I got God bumps. Like most people say goosebumps, like oh, God bumps. I got God
I
bumps
like
all over
that.
me, hearing
That's
that
good.
because this thing about getting into the zone, and then you said truth trumps logic, and so let me help our viewers to kind of understand maybe an easy step to get to that truth. And where the truth lies is within our feelings. And when we feel bad, it's really God's way of saying, this isn't on your lighted path. You're not in your zone. Okay. And when you feel good, it is that you're on your path, you're on your lighted way. And so you just gave the perfect example where she felt comfortable in the neighborhood she was brought up with. She felt comfortable in that. She really wasn't comfortable and didn't want to necessarily help. She didn't feel service was it did make her heart sing. And so to ask yourself, what makes my heart sing? And so I just love that example, and it's so compelling to help people realize it. So basically, it's to get clear on what you want, right?
Right. Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. So we're sort of taught to not pay attention to our feelings. We're taught to regard what other people deem as measures of our success.
Yeah,
And, really that's another inner separation. And
right.
and it's a process getting back to that too. So I have another coaching member. He and I have been working together for a couple of years, and he's making more money than he ever has.
Wow.
He's feeling so at ease. He's just happier, and he's like, "How did that happen?" Like he said, he has to get used to feeling at ease. He says,
Uh,
I'm not stressed,
uh,
and I'm not sure why. Like we've been working on that inner game of following your inner guide and allowing that next step for you to surface, letting that inner genius that we all have come forward instead
yeah.
of handing down. This is how I think, a lot of real estate coaching is broken, because it's all beating you up and saying, well, you got to do what you don't want to do, right? You got to do what
Right.
you hate. And success comes from people who grit through it and do it. And it's like, that doesn't sound like success. That sounds like, misery to me.
Oh my God, that is just so funny. And yeah, it's really, and everybody had good intentions. So like our parents had good intentions, but really what they were doing is they were telling us stuff to make them feel good and not us. And so we have this guidance system. And I love that you said, your inner guide, and we have this inner guide. And again, it's not anything mysterious. It's your feelings, but we've been so blocked off on this feelings. Like, I love going to chick flicks and crying, and we just watched.
I like that about you.
We just went to Rich Crazy Asians and saw that movie, and it is just so funny. And we were in tears over the happiness and over the stuff, the funny stuff going on, and so to be able to just let out your emotions and to be guided by those emotions, and so just incredible stories on. So we've been taught. Basically, you have to work hard. And then we observed it and we said, well, it must be true because those people worked really hard and then they, got to whatever they were looking at. But the fact is, as you just brought out, that there's actually a way to be on a happy path and to get there way faster and way easier because most people, like you mentioned, the first client of yours, in 3 years, they were making over $300,000. And most agents in 3 years, are still making, they got this ceiling on their head of $30,000 or, whatever. So it's a way to just break out, and to break out and start realizing your power. And then you mentioned this creativity too. And can you help us a little with understanding how do you create the life that you do want? Once you understand what you want and that's you feeling good, then how do I go about creating that?
Yeah, so you have to break free from all the narrative and brainwashing. And you have to stop caring about what other people think and also letting go of the outside controls. And that can be everything from, like you mentioned, your parents' training to the industry training to the media training, right down to our devices. I took a huge step recently.
Awesome.
Let me back up. With adrenal fatigue, the adrenal glands, they recover slowly. And so even though you're feeling better, you have to be careful to not push it. Well, that's, usually you work out, you push it hard. And, that's like no pain, no gain, right? Which is a lie, by the way. No pain, no gain is a total lie.
Exactly.
But what I did recently was I realized that I had, and I know a lot of us do, we have like these fitness trackers or that track our steps, how many miles we ran or walked or hiked or whatever. Yeah. And I realize I'm looking at this thing and it's like egging me on. So I'm listening to some ridiculous device that's just trying to like sell me something later, right? Instead of my own body like telling me, well, are you over fatigued or are you ready for more? And I did, Hank, it was a huge moment. I deleted the app. Now, some people, like the idea of deleting that app would freak them out, and I totally get it. You might not be ready for it, so don't, and I'm not telling you what to do. But I'm telling you, it was a huge step because it's like I decided that me paying attention and really tuning in to how I'm feeling was the primary, that's the sweet spot. That's being present, right? Yeah. So then the question becomes how? Well, let me share this 3-step formula. So everybody listening, if you want to get your business aligned, this is just a way to get you on the entrance ramp, is you have to reflect on the business that you're doing or want to do and look at what is it that you really want. Okay. Who do you want to work with? What market do you want to work with or work in? And get clear on that because it starts with you. If you want to move in a trajectory of making more money, experiencing more joy, and succeeding with ease, you have to start with you and what you want. And then, so once you get clear on what you want, then the next step is to decide whoever that is, or whatever market that is, what do they want? So you have to identify that, what they want.
Yeah, that's powerful. I'm taking notes here, and I hope everybody else is taking notes because this is powerful. Yeah.
So this is the framework by which to approach whatever you're doing in your business. And every single business decision that you make needs to be filtered through this formula. Yeah. Because here's the thing about business and life. is everything that we do, everything that we say, everything we speak, everything we think is all rooted in either the truth or fear. And the reason why most agents and entrepreneurs don't accomplish their goals or what they want is because most people root their decisions in fear, like you mentioned earlier, scarcity, that mindset. So becoming aware of where your decisions are rooted is key. And when you start with what you want and then you really get to the heart of what is important to them, then you're ready for the third step. And that is to bring that everything that you convey, whether it be through marketing materials, your website, your social media, your business cards, on and on, everything you speak needs to speak to how you are the answer, right? It bridges the gap between you and them. You're saying to the people, I am here to help you get what you want.
Yeah.
And make sure that your core messaging speaks to that. So that's a quick framework.
And I just love it. And so, so it's again, to recap that, it's to really be clear about what you want, like, what type of market, what type of people that you want, and get clear. And then the second step is to understand, what do they want? And so to really understand what they want, and how would I go about doing that as far as understanding what they want? Do you have some techniques to help on that?
Yeah, so I think that you really spoke to it earlier. Is part of it is reflecting on the business that you've done and making sure that you gain clarity. This is something that we do in Double Your Best Clients. It's a 2-day intensive I do, an intimate group of people really getting clear on that. Instead of like, let me 10 times my business or double everything. Well, if you're working with people you don't want to work with or are a wrong fit, you don't really want to double that. You want to double your best, right? Yeah. So getting clear, and that can be based on all kinds of things, really an examination of the business you've done, an examination of self, and also when you let go of all these external locus of control things and you go inside and you pay attention to what gives rise to your action. I've heard you speak about this, and I agree so much that it's not about motivation. It's really about inspiration. What do you feel inspired to do? Now, if anybody listening has kids, you know how to recognize this. Like if you say to your kids, okay, it's time for you to, do the dishes or do your homework, they're just so tired, they don't have any energy. But if you say, hey, let's go get some pizza, like suddenly,
woohoo!
Woohoo! They just suddenly have the energy to go. So, or go to the amusement park or ride a roller coaster. You're like, yeah, let's go do that. And we're like that too. It's easy to use the kids, but we're the same way. Where is it that you feel
big bodies?
called?
I'm sorry, we're little kids and big bodies. Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully that never changes. I don't want it
to. I'm getting younger and younger every day. I'm at about 7
with you.
Right now.
Me too. We'll grow young together.
That's right.
And so, and a lot of people aren't used to that. We talk a lot about limiting beliefs and what are your limiting beliefs, but most people don't even know how to begin. Like, what are my limiting beliefs?
Right.
And anything that you say, any declaration you make is a belief, right? And when you make a distinction or a statement for what you want, then that's the truth. And that's a decision. Now it becomes a decision. You go from belief to decision. And it is important to peel back those layers and ask yourself, when we make a statement like, well, nobody does that here, or it doesn't work in my market, or, all of those kinds of things. I've had people say every form of marketing and lead generation. I've heard somebody say it doesn't work. Open houses don't work. Direct mail doesn't work. Email's dead. It's like, what? There's a Chinese proverb that says, those who say it can't be done need to get out of the way of the people who are doing it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that one. Yeah, or no listings. There aren't any listings available. And like in our market, there were 4,000 this month. It's like,
right.
Hey,
or nobody's buying, right?
Yeah.
It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
Our beliefs are our guides. So if you believe that no one's buying, or if you believe nobody has any money to put down, or if you believe all the sellers are waiting on the market, Well, what is that going to do? The body follows the mind. So the mind thinks nobody is listing. And so your body just says, oh, well, nobody is. So there's no point in pursuing it, right?
Hmm.
So here's my latest saying, Hank. And I worked on this because I had like a page of variations of this, but this is what I came down to. And I think it's really powerful for everybody. And that is, our attention is our currency. And wherever we're putting our attention is what we're spending our currency on, which will determine what we get. And it's like you said earlier, if the focus is on what's missing or what people aren't doing, that's all what's unwanted. And when we shift that attention to what is wanted, we cash in.
I love that. And so, our attention, and I always say, whatever you focus your attention on grows. And so now you're saying, hey, what that growth is your currency, if you will, and the currency in money and in joy and in ease and in happiness, and all those things that, and I just want to be clear on when you mentioned guides there as far as your beliefs, just to understand that those are not your divine guides that we were talking about earlier. Those are your your small
Yes.
limited self and your own little our own little analytical minds trying to figure it out. And that, we all, it basically has been said, the Father does the work, which means all we have to do is think about, hey, this is what I desire. And then you'll start attracting all the people and circumstances and events in order to, get that going. Now, how do I then, Roberta, how can I take this and understand what my clients want? Like, so let's say let's go back to your client. I really like these neighborhoods, 220,000. How do I know what they need? Because that's your step two, right? Is to understand what they want. And so how do I go about doing that?
Great question. Great question. So we all know that there are certain things that most people want, right? So let's say, here's I'll give a super basic example. Like
Right.
I'll sit down with agents who are highly experienced, been in the business a long time, and they'll say, I just don't know why I'm not getting more listings. I want more listings. Well, I look at their marketing messages and it's like, achieve the American dream, and own your own home. Like it's all geared toward buyers. And so it's like, well, they've already achieved them. They have a house. Now they need to sell. They have a different set of concerns and needs and issues, and they want different things from an agent.
Yeah.
So something even that basic, right, can make a huge difference. One of my coaching members, she is also making more money than she ever has. She was already a six-figure agent. Now she's just, and I have people who come who are maybe making 50 to 80, some people who are already making 6 and 7 figures. And it's really about shifting the quality of that business and doing it with greater ease. But in her case, she was also all over the place. Like even her marketing, she never made a decision clearly on what it is that who she was trying to attract. Like even she had like 12 fonts on the same marketing piece. Like it was just all this confusion.
Yeah.
But she was promoting to buyers and wanting, I believe that it is listings that drive the business, and those who have the listings are in a much more strong position to earn more and to do that with greater ease. So there are some fundamental things. But so who are you marketing to? What are you marketing to their needs? Now you can get even more specific, like for example, in the example I shared with you earlier, someone who's in a blue collar market who, she wants to be really comfortable with the people, and they also want that. So they're not looking for some slick luxury person, right? So it can affect the way you dress, the messaging, the way you communicate, all of that plays out. They want just someone who's maybe more earthy, right? Rather than flashy, that type of thing. But it can also mean market. So she focused on a geographic area. So what we did is we positioned her as the expert in that area. And we taught the people that they want to use her because of her expertise. And so all the messaging and the marketing and the branding, it was all around that. Right? Because she made a commitment. It's kind of like when you decide what you want, and then you go after and you figure out what they want and you go after that.
Yeah.
when you make a commitment, people are a lot more likely
Right.
to commit to you because of your clarity. It gives me the power to have clarity about you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And, because my focus is on helping real estate agents and brokers to increase their wealth and business, that it always comes up on, for me to really understand it. So I've actually interviewed them and, I've asked literally hundreds of agents, what are you looking for? And really when it comes, they want more time, they want more money, and they'd like to have some passive income, and they'd like to have savings, because it's a struggle, because you get that one closing and you make so much money, and before you know it you look and there's no more money in there, or you got a bigger house, bigger car, whatever. And that's why, like on my webinar, the dochankwebinar.com, that meets the needs of those agents that want that. And pretty much all agents, do want that. They want more time, they want more money, they want savings, and they want to build their business, and are able to do that. Now, at the same time, that I know that you have a couple of special offers for us and some things coming up. I think you mentioned a little about it, this 2-day intensive, but could you tell us a little about the 2-day intensive? Because we already know, hey, you're great. You can help us to get to that more business, do it in a happy, easy way. I mean, we're all with you, girl, and we're right with you, Roberta. And so, how do we get more of you? And basically, other than watching this a couple of times, which I recommend everybody do, that how can we join your 2-day intensive? And tell us a little about that, if you would.
Well, can I remark real quick on what you just said about building
Sure.
wealth? I just want to
Yeah.
back you up there because it astounds me that most agents have no investments.
Yeah.
They're in the grind. That's one of the things. They're in the grind and they don't stop to actually. I meet with my one-on-one clients twice a year. We do a mastermind and retreat, and we talk about things like that, opportunities to create recurring income and
Yeah.
passive income and investing in real estate. So I love that you're doing that. I think it's so important, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, as far as my 2-day intensive, that one,
Hmm.
I have one coming up next month.
Right.
And it's a 2-day intimate where you just fly into the airport. The hotel's right there in the airport. You don't even need a coat or an Uber or anything. You just literally walk down the terminal hallway into the hotel. It's really, people love that.
that
They like, think that's the
that's great.
coolest thing.
What city is that?
It's in Pittsburgh,
In Pittsburgh. So we're flying
Pittsburgh
into Pittsburgh.
International.
Okay.
Yep. And there's not going to be any like hikes or spa treatments or, it's like, it's an intensive, so we're focused.
Okay.
And it's not hard, it's just focused. That's all.
Yeah.
So
Great.
it's all centered around this idea that what if you doubled your best clients?
Mm.
Really tapping into what we've been talking about, creating the business that you really want, magnifying and duplicating your best people to have so much more fun and have business flow to you. And it's
Yeah.
very hands-on. So there's done for you systems and marketing pieces and like a conference is you go to it and you get like fire hose with information and you get home and like maybe you hopefully you implement something, right?
Right.
But the 2-day intensive is about covering less information but going much deeper, and we implement while we're there. So
Oh, wow.
it is rated tens every time. I just love
Wow.
doing it.
That's
So
awesome.
people can go, they can go to www. Do you even need to say that anymore? Double.
I don't know. I don't know.
doubleyourbestclients.com,
Yeah.
doubleyourbestclients.com. And if
Yeah.
you miss the
Yeah.
next one, you can always go there. If you're listening to this after
Yeah.
that one's over, it'll tell you when the next one's coming up.
Sure. Sure. That's
Or if
great.
you just
Yeah.
want to get information to get out of your own way, I have a free little brief little mini express newsletter that's delivered to you once a month digitally. It's
That's
called Free
great.
Yourself to Success, right? Because we're the ones who are in our own way. Free Yourself to Success. And you can get that by going to my website at sixfigurerealestatecoach.com.
Love it.
Sixfigurerealestatecoach.com.
I love that. And, and I know that we have a lot of high energy and high top performing agents and teams and brokers that are at 7 figures. And as Roberta Ross already has shared with us, that she takes the seven figures and makes them even bigger. And so it's all with this, you're just so right on where you are. As we were meant to come here to enjoy our life. We were supposed to just be skipping along and enjoying our life. And I do want to also say one thing that you were so cute about, that in your bio you have blissfully happy most of the time with a little smiley face on there. And I just want to share with everybody that, all of us, Roberta has it, I have it, we all have it. And if we don't, we actually wouldn't be here, because we have to have this contrast, these things we don't want. And when you can be like Roberta and look at it as a blessing and see what it births, what thoughts does it birth in order to get you. And with Roberta, this, she was ill and in bed, homebound, and she was able to be inspired from that to take her to this new awakening that helps all of us to awaken into our greatest possibility. So how super is that, Roberta? And we're out of time here, but there's always plenty of time. But I do want to just ask, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with, Roberta, before we sign off here?
Well, I'll just piggyback on what you just said, and that
Okay.
is that hidden in every fortune is misfortune, and hidden in every misfortune is fortune, the yin and yang of life, right? So everything is really an opportunity. So wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with right now,
Yeah.
just remember that there's value in it. You merely need to look for the value and you'll find it, because your attention is your currency.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Roberta Ross, we thank you so much for being on the show today. You just rock, girl. And again, we can go to doubleyourbestclients.com for a 2-day intensive, and also to get her monthly, and it's once a month, this way to get a six-figure realestatecoach.com and get her ideas on how to free yourself to success today. So this is Dr. Hank wishing you all of the best, to much success in your greatest possibility. And love you all. Take care. Bye bye.